Today, I'm going to be walking you through the simplest way to understand what an AI agent is, how it works, and how we can explain it in a way which even a 5-year-old would understand. Once we've got the basics out of the way, I'm then going to go over how you can build a really basic flow in n8n to get yourself started today. If this is your first time on the channel, then my name is Jamie, and I run a channel here on YouTube as well as TikTok and Instagram to help people get started with using AI and implementing it in their business or creating their own agency, which they can then monetize and make a living from. If you want to get started really quickly, both with this tutorial and more generally with AI, then jump into the free community in the description below. Today I'm going to talk about how to build an AI agent. I'm going to make it so simple that even a 5-year-old can understand it. So let's dive right into this diagram we've got in front of us here. So first and foremost, with any agent, what we're going to need is an input, and that is the equivalent of our ears and eyes for a human body. And on the other end, we're going to have an output, which would probably be our mouth. So you would listen and you'd see things happening, and then you might speak and react accordingly and respond to somebody else. In the middle, we've obviously got the body, which kind of coordinates everything together. But we've also got the brain, and this part of the brain here is what I'm going to talk about in terms of the medium to long-term knowledge. So think about things like birthdays, things that happened in the past, remember, and you're not going to forget no matter how many random facts or things you have to learn very quickly, which is further down here. This is the kind of stuff that you'd remember over a long period of time. And even if someone asked you 30 different questions and tried to get you to remember stuff, you'd still be able to remember this other stuff later. We've then got the brain in terms of the processing power. So think of this as kind of like your IQ as a human. We've then got the short-term memory. So think of this in terms of what list of things could you remember. If someone gave you a list of 20 things, perhaps you could remember them all. If someone gave you another 5 things, perhaps you'd start to forget the first 5 and you'd still only remember like the later ones. That's kind of what I want you to think of here. And then finally, we've got the tools. So think of this as human hands and anything we can put into our hands. But obviously from a computer perspective, we're talking about different applications, which an agent could call, request information from, or give information to. So that's the basic diagram. We're going to now jump over to n8n and build this out really simply and really quickly. So here we are in n8n now, and this is what it looks like. So you can see there's a lot of similarities between the diagram that I've drawn and our model here. So we've got our input, got our output, got our body, which contains our system prompt, which is essentially the medium-term memory, if you like, the specific role that the agent's going to perform. We'll go into that in a moment. You've then got the brain here, which we've chosen OpenAI in this instance. We've got the short-term memory loader, which allows us to remember things from this chat in and the messages out. And then finally, we've got the tool. And in this case, we're going to use SERP API, which essentially allows us to connect any AI model to the internet. Now, I recognize that OpenAI has now got access to the internet, but there are many AI models that don't have access to the internet. And in fact, even if OpenAI does, sometimes there's really good reasons as to why you'd want to still add a SERP API attached to it as well. So let's build this AI together really quickly. When you come into n8n for the first time, what you'll find is a blank screen like this once you've logged in. And all we need to do is click Add First Step, and here on the right-hand side, what you will find is a number of different options, which are the triggers. In this case, we just want to go for the on chat message, which we'll click here. And what you then get faced with is kind of a really odd settings screen, which at first glance kind of overwhelms you. I'm not quite sure why it's always so large within the screen. It's not particularly helpful and you don't need it a lot of the time. All I do is click out of it by clicking up here at the top or in the gap at the bottom between where there's the dark window and the lighter one. And there you go, and then you're out of it. Next, you want to click the plus button here, and we're going to choose the next action. And in this instance, we want to choose the advanced AI, and we're going to choose the AI agent. Again, we've got a settings here, which we are going to come back to in a bit on this instance, but for now, we're just going to click out of it again. And you'll see here it's gone red. That's because we need to connect the brain and the short-term memory as well as the tools to the AI agent, which we'll do now. So you can click here on the plus again to choose the brain. And you'll see again on the right-hand side, it's now guiding us as to which AI model we want to use. You'll notice that Grok, DeepSeek, and a number of other AI models are not here, but you can do that. And if you do want to add those instead, then I'll link a video up there. You can go and click through to see how to do that. For now, what we'll do instead is we will just connect to OpenAI, the Mac Daddy. And normally what you'd see if this is your first time is that this will not be populated and it will be red, and it will then ask you to create a new credential. You come here, you click the plus button, and then you'll need to insert your API key. You get that from going to platform.openai.com, which is the first link here if you choose OpenAI platform in the search bar. you'll need to log in here or sign up. You then need to come into the settings here. On the left-hand side, come to API keys. At the top here, click create new secret key, give it a name, choose the project if there is one, and choose create secret key. You then need to copy this value. Once you've done that, again, you can leave the 4.0 mini. This is a really powerful model and it's very quick and it's very cheap, which is really important when you're just testing and learning. There's no point in spending a lot of money and getting a really amazing AI response when actually all you need is the basic understanding. So now we've added the brain. Now we're going to add the short-term memory, and we can just choose window buffer memory here. It's quick and easy and free. One thing to note here on the settings is the context window length, which is 5. That essentially means that there are 5 interactions between you and the AI that it will remember. You can change this, but the larger it gets, the kind of slower it is, the more difficult it is. It really struggles to remember if you go too far back. I find that 10 works really, really well. And then the tool, click here on the plus, and we'll search for SERP. Now, one point to note before we go down and search for what we want is that there are a number of tools here, and really anything with an API. And if you don't know what an API is, it stands for Application Programming Interface, and it is essentially a way in which one app can talk to another app on the internet. So it's a way of communicating, and they can data and push data to each other. Now, for the purposes of this tutorial, that doesn't really matter, don't worry. If it's in this list over here, then you can already find that it does have an API. You don't need to worry about it. However, let's just go down and have a look at some of the things which we can access and use as tools. So Airtable is like a very powerful database and spreadsheet app. You've got the Google Suite here, Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Docs, Google Drive, and Google Sheets. So really any of those apps, you can both read data and you can even create new data. So you could create a new email, for example, or you could ask it to go and read your emails and bring that information back. And there are a whole host of other things. So you can see down here, Notion. For those of you that don't know what Notion is, a really fantastic note-taking app. It's much more powerful than just a basic note taker. But for today, we're going to come down to the bottom and we're going to choose SERP. And again, we're going to have to do the same thing. If you don't already have an API key, you need to come to the drop-down menu, choose create new credential, click on the plus, and then again, go to SERP and create your API key and then paste it in here and then click back out. And now we've got the chat in, the body, we've got the brain, we've got the short-term memory, and we've got the tool. The one thing that's missing now is back in here, which is the system prompt, which if you remember is how we tell the agent what we want it to be. So we'll double click here, and now you can see we've got add an option. So we click that, and we want to add a system message. So we click that, and here is the box for a system message. Now, at the moment, it just says you are a helpful assistant. It's not fantastic. It's a very generic prompt, and it's not really going to get us any better responses than you might get if you were to use a normal GPT model. So instead, we'll paste a prompt that I've created from earlier. And I've said, you are a news aggregator. Your role is to find the latest trending news articles on the topic given in the prompt. Provide 3 to 5 articles with headings and a brief summary for each. In this instance, we don't need to add anything on to the end because we're not going to send it out anywhere else. It's going to come back into our chat window. But if we just go now down to the bottom here, you can see there's a little orange chat button. Click the chat, and now we've got essentially a similar window to what you would see if you open ChatGPT or Claude or any of the other AI models. And now you've got your own little chat window. So we can test it out here. So let's say that we wanted to search for news articles on DeepSeek. So we press DeepSeek, and now what you should see here is it's gone green because the chat's been received. The body's received the information, which is DeepSeek. It's passed it to the brain. The brain's then checked the short-term memory. We don't have anything. It's then searched the internet. The internet's found the information, passed it back to the body, and now the brain is responding by formatting and processing that information and passing it back. And if we wanted to pass it onwards and outwards, we would. But in this instance, it's come straight back into our chat window here. I'll just make this larger to show you. And what you can see here on the left-hand side is we've got article 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 3 to 5, perfect. It's done 4 articles. It's even brought the image from the website. And then we've got the title, we've got the source, and we've got a summary about what the article is about. Now, if we did want to go further, we could absolutely add on anything with an API and ask it to pass it along. So for example, if we click the plus button here, we can then search for an action in an app, and we could choose Slack, and we could then choose message, and we could set it up to send a message to Slack. If we didn't want Slack, instead we could use send a text message in Slack. And again, we have the ability to really post any information we want. I go into this and a lot more information in the free community, which the information is down below in the description. But really, for today, that's all I want to do is just get you basically up and running. Jump into n8n, have a go. There are a lot more videos that I cover on more advanced topics, including how you can actually get DeepSeek and Grok instead of OpenAI. So if you're interested in that, click on the video here. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.